Hello. Oh, hold on. There we go. We had a rough start this morning.
This morning.
Or whatever. Welcome to Monday Market 15, the 15-minute show that's a little disjunct this morning. Rob Morales, RCO Network, coming at you live here in Phoenix, Arizona, Studio 110. Facing some difficulties, but we're getting through those. I didn't realize I'll get to it later. Anyway, well, with me as always is my co-host, the wonderful, the bright, the beautiful Miss Ashley Miller. There she is, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I missed last week. I finally got my voice kind of back. I only sound like an 80-year-old smoker now.
Oh, so. I would have said 75, but.
Oh, well, thank you.
We also have a special guest for this, and I will let her introduce herself. Will you introduce yourself, Miss?
Hi,
Kimberly
I
Burgess.
am Kimberly Burgess.
That's right. And?
I am with the Mortgage Buffs, Axia Home Loans.
Because she's
Mortgage
so
lender.
buff.
I will show you. I will show you why she's a mortgage buff in just a minute. But I want to thank Miss Kimberly for coming on the show today. We're here to talk about, like I said, money, and the market, the Phoenix housing market, everything that has to do with housing. A little bit of a rough start because one of the videos on the screens we were going to share with you went off, and I was trying to figure out where the hell it was coming from. So that was very interesting. Interesting start. So hello, how's everybody doing?
Hi. Thank you, Ashley,
We're
Robert,
good.
for having me today.
Yeah, we saw you on Facebook, and you know that's
Every morning.
The funny thing about Facebook is we come across each other, and sometimes when you reach out and just say hello, there's some wonderful things that can happen.
Right, yeah. It's all about connecting.
All about connecting. So I'm going to put why, we connected with Miss Kimberly. Ashley's known her for a while.
Yeah.
Because of this Facebook post here. Look at this. Who is that back there? Who are those abs belong to? Yeah,
That's me.
I know. Are you sure that's you?
That's me. Well, that's me for a moment in time. You cannot look like that all the time. That's for a hot minute.
Is it tough holding on to muscles like that?
Well, the muscles are always there. You just have to manipulate your diet and your hydration levels to look like that for a hot minute on stage.
That kind of sounds like the mortgage industry. Like if you want to buy a house,
right, it's for a
you
hot
kind of
minute.
have to manipulate your finances and
That's
your
a good
money
segue, Miss Missler.
just for a hot minute to buy a house. Like,
It's so true.
when they say that, your credit score, our credit scores are constantly changing, right? I mean, you pay off a credit card, it goes up, it goes down. Like it's constantly, there's so many ebbs and flows.
Ride the wave.
And then you have your bank accounts. Like sometimes I have a lot of money, sometimes I'm poor. So like for a hot minute, that's all you need, right? To buy a house. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. You have to time it right.
So it's a good segue. We're here to talk about the Phoenix housing market, and you were a loan officer from what we've collected, the data we have collected. You are a loan officer. You deal primarily in residential mortgage.
Correct. Yep. 1 to 4 family properties. Yep.
And you've been in this game since 1994. It's 28 years.
It's a long time. Yes. So I'm
You must love
not
it.
old. I'm just experienced.
Well, hello.
I do love it. I love helping people. I love seeing people either get their dream home, their first home, their second home, rental properties. I love it.
And like some men, we all love experienced women. So.
There you go.
We were talking a lot about this show.
Wrong?
We were talking just before the show about a lot of different variety of topics, and that was one of them. But we're here to talk about home loans and kind of the things that you've seen in the upcoming market. I think everybody out there, and it's so nice to have you here because you've kind of ridden that wave, right? The crash of
sure.
2010, 12, whatever it was, all the
07,
So many
08.
waves.
yeah,
Yep.
all that stuff. You rode that wave, and you're here. You're still in the business. 10 years after that episode. Do you want to talk about that experience and kind of what
Sure.
was happening at the time?
Sure. Yeah, 07 and 08 was crazy. I was actually in my hometown, Salida, Colorado. I was working in a little community bank. I was a loan officer then.
Yep.
And, the world was just going crazy, falling apart, all of these foreclosures. We were very, very fortunate where I'm from. It's a kind of little resort mountain town, so our property values weren't impacted. And we were really lucky as a lender because we were one of the few places that were still lending money because lines of credit were shut down. I mean, nobody was lending. There, if you remember, runs on banks. I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy time. So, but from that, there were a lot of protections put in place, and that's one of the reasons the market probably will not crash again just because of all of those protections. I mean, given a complete economic meltdown, which is possible too. But
And that's what people. I think that's what
Yeah.
people are waiting for. They're waiting for that market to kind of.
It can't happen. It's not going to happen.
good, not here in Phoenix, Arizona. No way. No, it's not going to happen.
Because we were talking about net migration rates. People coming into Phoenix, and the number you said, I can't remember.
What? How many people per day
Yeah.
live here? It was what?
244.
244 people. That's net migration.
That's
So we have
average.
people leaving, people coming, but on a daily basis, we have about 244 people coming into the Phoenix market, competing with you for a house, competing for you for a rental. If you're in the market right now looking for either one.
Yep.
Well, I think the thing with, I find this so interesting. So the Arizona market, we're rising and rising and rising. And people are still moving here. Why?
Because
Like-
I think a lot of them are moving from California where they've sold a
That's true.
home,
Yeah.
or maybe they couldn't afford to buy a home there. So they're
Yeah.
coming here and saying, even though in our eyes we're saying, man, things are getting expensive, for these other people, it's
not, yeah.
affordable. It's still
No,
affordable.
that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and I think Arizona historically, before I was actually watching a video on Arizona. I sent it to you, Ash. Was that Arizona was not known for its a comfortable climate. It wasn't until the invention of the air conditioner
Not comfortable.
that people actually started migrating here and finding it a place. And primarily, it was seen as a place to retire.
Right.
It wasn't seen as a place to live. But now we've kind of, with the whole viral thing, everything that's transformed. People telecommuting. This was previously an inexpensive place to come with not a whole lot of infrastructure. I mean,
Yeah.
Phoenix in itself. I mean, if you've been down to downtown Phoenix on the weekend, it's pretty much dead unless there's a game going on.
Right.
There's really nothing happening, and a lot of the cities like Chicago and LA, there's an internal infrastructure where there's something to do, some place to be, and we really don't have that as a city. We're really a big town.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
so spread out.
And it's easy to get around. You can get across town quickly. The airport is
Yeah.
close. It's just
Now we have some waterways going on.
This thing. It's one of the articles we have. Sorry, I put that.
So I think, I like what you said about our infrastructure is I always say, like, we are the biggest small town you've ever seen.
Yep.
But then going back to your comment about Colorado, there are some small towns that we can, capitalize on. Like we were talking about earlier, like Pine, Arizona, or Strawberry, or Snowflake, or Show Low, like, Northeast. Like those are great areas to buy property in that you will actually be able to find property in. While as in Phoenix, I know Robert has a chart for it. Like our inventory it's grown a little bit, but it's still relatively low. Our housing
should I
market,
pull it up?
yeah, pull it up for sure.
Am I pulling up that info? So right here, we look at this every week, and the one thing we've been telling you guys is to watch the inventory levels over in the third week of January. We're now past the third week of January, and you can see in Maricopa County we've hit half month supply, basically just a little over a half month in inventory in Phoenix. So if you compare that to last year, we were at roughly about the same spot. And if you reflect on last year, where we were at inventory-wise, it led us to an environment where there was a very active market, a lot of competition, people waiving appraisals, people just going crazy, offering large down money, cash, down payments, everything. It led to that environment. And as we reflect on today, this chart is really indicating we're ready for that environment all over again. We're just roughly the same
Are
spot.
we ready
were.
though? You say, are we ready? We might be entering into that, but I don't know if we're ready because a lot of the things that we've been researching with all these hedge funds coming and they're buying in bulk.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many homes that are just sitting empty that people are not able to purchase because of these hedge funds. And then we have our limited inventory, and then now interest rates, which are so high.
they
You've
are
been-
on the rise at 3.5%.
Wow. I mean, coming from how long you've been around, we've
Right.
seen interest rates from what?
Oh, I mean my
17%?
my first mortgage, and I had excellent credit back in the day, in the early 90s, was 7.5%, and that was considered good.
Yeah.
So granted, homes were less expensive, but we were also making less money then. So it's all relative, yes, prices are rising, but so is rent. Rent is going crazy.
Let's talk about that. So when somebody's like, I'm renting a place, I don't know if I can afford to purchase a home. in my personal opinion, people don't know what they don't know. So they
Right.
need to consult. So give me an example of that you've experienced where somebody came in and was like, oh, I'm renting, and I just don't know if I can afford. It's to me, it's more of an emotional experience in their head versus a financial.
Definitely. No, I mean, finance in general, it's a very touchy subject. It makes people nervous. And that's why it helps if you can use an experienced realtor and an experienced lender to make sure that people have your best interest in mind and can kind of walk you through the process. A lot of people think maybe they have bad credit when they don't. So just to get your credit analyzed and to know that there are down payment assistance programs, you can do a conventional loan with 3% down. There's still FHA loans available. And those borrowers getting those types of loans may be at a slight disadvantage when making an offer, and I'm sure, Robert, you can see that. So if you have 5% down, it's definitely going to make your offer a little more attractive, but it's not impossible. I think that's the biggest thing. People are so discouraged thinking, oh, there's nothing on the market and I'm up against all these other buyers. But I have first-time home buyers. I mean, the majority of my clients last month that I closed out were first-time home buyers. So it's possible. It's definitely possible.
And from my end, we did talk about it before the show, is about relationships and the people that you know. So I got a contract this weekend purely on a relationship, purely on knowing another agent who had an off-market deal. And I had clients who we've been looking for the last 4 or 5 months, running into the same problems, running into the same issues, not having enough money for over the asking price. Because right now we're looking at about, if you read the reports, on average, people are offering $5,000 to $10,000 above list price. And that's on average. I mean, some are asking more, some are getting at the same price, but it's still a competitive environment. And because I knew this person in real estate who was an agent who, we've had some good conversations in the past, had a good transaction in the past, he believed in me. And he reached out and said, hey, I have an off-market deal. It's not on the MLS. We have the listing agreement, but we haven't taken photos, haven't done anything regarding it. And he said, do you want to see it? And I said,
yes.
Yeah. So I went out there Saturday, showed it. My client loved it. We made an offer. We got it accepted off market. So they still have yet to put it on the planogram and send it out. But those relationships are the best opportunities right now. When you come to knowing what particular financing to get and knowing a particular agent or another person out there that may have an opportunity for you, despite all these challenges, there are opportunities. You just have to keep open-minded about them.
Definitely.
The amount of opportunities that are available are endless, and I think that's why you need to consult with a lender and say, okay, if you want to go in this direction, this is what you can do. If you want to do this, this is what you can do. And having it laid out and preparing yourself, what's the 5 Ps? Poor preparation or proper preparation prevents poor performance.
Peter Piper picked a pepper.
Exactly.
It's you have to talk to a lender. So then when that opportunity does come up, when there's a relationship between a seller and the real estate agent, you're prepared, because gosh, if you're not, they may have lost out on that opportunity. Yeah. And whose fault is that? It's a fault of their own with no negative connotation there, but under having somebody like you come in and say, hey, this is what you can afford. Talk to your insurance person. I'm sure you have some great insurance people you work with. This is what the homeowner's insurance is going to be. You spoke about what did you say? Talking about somebody who didn't have the proper insurance, and then so travesty, and you have to have a good insurance person. Usually your lender has a partner.
Definitely. I mean, realtor, lender, title, that's a pretty powerful combination. And then we have our own people, insurance, So I mean, it's all networking and getting a good group of people together that you can trust. But there was a big fire in Colorado just a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of people were underinsured. So I always say at the beginning of the year, not only should you be gathering up all your tax documents, W-2s, getting your financials all put together, but review things like your homeowner's insurance policy. Make sure you're covered. Don't take the cheapest policy or just do the replacement coverage, because some of these people are now stuck upside down.
Got the music again. But I loved what you said, though, about taking the cheapest insurance. And this you may hate me for saying this, but maybe sometimes people take the cheapest insurance in the beginning just to get qualified, because sometimes that $50 to $100 difference can change it, but know that they need to up that once everything closes. If they can financially afford it out of their pocket, but the bank says, no, you can't, then take the cheaper one in the beginning. And then once they close and they can opt in to get the higher insurance.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think that just goes back to the lender giving them the right guidance. I mean, I will always tell a borrower, look, you are up to your max debt ratio. You cannot go past X amount of dollar for taxes or insurance. But to have a policy for, some of these people had policies for 15 or 20 years and the values have gone up so much, certain insurers just weren't paying out replacement costs. So people are upside down. I mean, and with no home, no belongings, I mean, that's crazy.
Do people have the ability to like pick up the phone and call you and say, all right, Kimberly, so this is my interest rate. This is where my insurance is at. Like, figure my life out for me real quick.
Definitely.
And like my financial, not that you're a financial advisor, but there's a lot of times like we don't know.
People do leverage on us and make those decisions for them. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times it's obvious to me. Like I will look at, a homeowner's rate and I'll tell them, hey, you may want to explore. It looks like you are paying a lot of money for a homeowner's insurance policy, or something looks out of line, whether it's insurance or whatever, or, maybe it's a debt. And I have a creative way to say, hey, you need to get this paid down. Or so, yeah, I just look at the full picture for the borrower. I like to analyze the full picture from credit to liabilities, investments, just because I'm not an expert at everything, but I typically have somebody I can send them to that is the expert.
And that's a great part about what we were talking about the relationships is like, you don't have to call each person individually. Sometimes you can just call one person that will be able to, sit down and calculate it for you and let you know what'll work.
Definitely.
Yeah, if I need to work on my abs and my home loan, I know exactly who to go to. So we did have a question today. I saw 3 different home listings that have a City of Phoenix stipulation on it. The asking price was $350 plus, but has the maximum income that is really low. How can you explain how this works? I.e., if the income is low, how can they afford the mortgage on it? It's a lot of questions.
I'm not trying to understand that.
So basically, there was a City of Phoenix
like
home.
a low income type.
Yeah, low income situation, and if they're, I think
it sounds like they're talking about DPA.
Yeah, like there's a down payment assistance. So have you come across those City of Phoenix listings before?
I've never seen the listings, but we do have down payment assistance, and some of the programs do have income limitations.
Yeah.
So,
but they can still qualify. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think each one's a little bit different, but
so it's just going to depend on what that income limit is and what debts. I get this question asked all the time. Well, how much can I qualify for? And it depends. It's different for everybody. It depends on what your income is. It depends on what your credit score is. It depends on how many debts you have. If you have student loans.
So if you have 2 people making $100,000 a year, but one has let's say 60% DTI and the other one has 40, then their qualifying limits are
different.
A little different.
Yeah.
So I guess what it comes down to is you really have to contact a lender.
Correct. Yeah.
I know somebody in the room.
Yeah, there's nothing cut and dry. There's gray areas. Everything is loosening up now from COVID. Everything had gotten really strict as far as underwriting. Things are starting to loosen up again. So that's a good thing. There's still no doc loans and all that crazy stuff. You still have to qualify for the mortgage. And I mean, honestly, why would you want to get a mortgage that you can't afford?
Yeah, I do see that. I do see it as a trend. People qualify for, let's say, 300, and they want to find 300.
Right.
And it's crazy, but there are some people out there that do recognize what their loan limit is. And I have somebody that qualifies for 400, but he's looking for 350 because of the payment.
Right.
He doesn't want to exceed that.
Right. I always tell people, yes, you qualify for $500,000, but you have to remember you're stuck paying this every month. What are your hobbies? What are you going to have to give up? You're not going to be buying shoes anymore.
Your comfortability.
Yes, you in the end you have to pay the payment. So I can tell you qualify for it, but remember you're paying it every month.
Well, because your debt to income is really just based upon what's on your credit score. It's not your gym membership. It's not your
It's only what's reported
your monthly
to
subscription to Fit Fad Fun.
Correct.
Which I have. It's not all these different things.
I want to know what Kimberly's gym she goes to. Let me put that up again. This is amazing.
But I like what you said. Take personal inventory.
Right.
What is your personal inventory of your debt going out?
Right.
I mean, that makes a huge difference. Yep. All my boys go to the gym. We've got their gym memberships. We've got, which I probably should go with them. I'll talk to you about that later. And, you know, there's different things, expenses that we have going out that are on our credit report. So if you tell me, yes, Ashley, you qualify for $500,000, I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, wait. So then I go to Robert and I'm like, hey, qualify for 500,000, but maybe I should look in the 450 range. Yeah. We don't want to maximize ourselves to the point where we're uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah, and I think if there was an opportunity, or is there, from your experience and from what you're seeing, Kim, is there opportunities for buyers out there right now? Is there something that you're kind of seeing? I mean, for me, like I said, it's been the relationships part, like finding those off-market deals and really connecting with people, having good relationships. Like at the end of the day, for me, relationships is always key. This is a relationship business, and if you piss off one agent, that agent might be the other side of whatever deal they're trying to get a year, 2 years from later.
Yes. No, there's definitely opportunity. I mean, what I always try to prepare, especially first-time home buyers, because they haven't gone through the experience of making offers, is don't get discouraged. You may not get your first offer accepted. You may not get your second or third one. It may take
or
5.
30th.
Yeah, I mean, it may take, you know,
unbeatable.
just because you can close on a house in 30 days, you might not get an offer accepted from day one. Yep. So you have to just work with your realtor and trust, you know, that a property is going to come up. And like Robert said, you know, if he hasn't had that connection with somebody, and I mean, that was awesome. Yep. Otherwise, you may not have ever come across that property.
Yeah, one of the first things I do always, and every time I make an offer, is call the agent first and try to start building that rapport right away. You know, I want them to feel comfortable with me. I want them to know my experience and my knowledge, so that when it comes down to issues, that they feel confident that I'm going to take care of them. You know, I mean, there's some douchebag agents out there. There's some people that are just in it for the game. But I really, again, those people that are long-term end up being good working people in the future. And I would say there's probably a handful of situations, particularly this weekend, where you come across an agent or somebody that, you know, you did business with before, and they give you a shoe-in.
Yep.
You know, and that's the most important piece of this. So if your agent is experienced, I'm not taking away from the fact that there's new agents out there, because I was new at one point too. But the more established somebody is, the more relationships they tend to have.
Definitely.
Especially somebody being in the business since 1994.
I know. Well,
how do you maintain your 25, right? You're about to be 26, and you've been in the business almost 30 years. I just don't get how that the numbers don't work. But
I'm sorry.
One doesn't always equal
I
two.
take good care of myself.
How do you manage in this meat market?
Oh, exactly.
Trying to buy a house in Metro Phoenix, beware, it's a meat market out there.
It is. It's tough, but I mean, again, going back to using someone that you can trust and someone that's experienced. I mean, I am available on the weekends. I know that's a hot time when people are looking, and that realtors will expect, you know, a phone call or an email back. And like you said, talking to the listing agent, that's the first thing I do when an offer is accepted. I will pick up the phone and call them. Not only, you know, I'm very discreet in what I tell them about the borrower, but letting them know, hey, they're solid, but also that I have been in the industry a long time. I'm going to take good care. I'm going to give good communication. And hopefully that helps get the offer accepted, that it's not just some fly-by-night online lender.
Yeah. Any opportunities in title? Yes.
Oh, in title. So I think, you know, I mean, there's so much going on in title right now with so many, there's a lot of big changes that are happening as far as like when, you know, going back to lending, when people are getting approved, and we won't get too granular about this. Maybe on another show we can. Yep. You know, if somebody has a judgment against them and different things, like they're going to be required to pay that stuff off. So that's why it's so important to talk to a lender and go through your finances and understand what's happening, because at this point with a new homestead, it started January 1st and it's changing from $150,000 to $250,000. That could really mess somebody up, even a seller. So not just you as a lender, but you as a selling agent, when they go to sell that home and all of a sudden we pull title and there's $100,000 cloud on it, that's pretty crappy for your buyer, because if that seller is not willing to pay off that judgment, now where does that put your seller? So title is so pertinent, and especially starting January 1st of 2022, where we are right now. When you first go in to purchase a property, that's why a lot of times I'm saying, go to title right away. We'll pull it and tell you, you know, if that property, it may be the perfect property for you, but that seller may not have the perfect finances to sell that property. I feel like we forget that.
Right. There could be tax liens.
There's so many, there could mechanics
crazy
liens, tax
things,
liens, and there's so many things that are happening on the seller's end that buyers are not familiar with, and buying agents aren't familiar with. And this is not a lack of being a newbie or anything. It's just a lack of knowledge because we don't know what we don't know. So title, honestly, like, we're your best friends.
Yeah. I don't think people understand how important
we do
title
everything.
is. Yeah.
We literally,
it protects you.
From the time you get that property, you put in your offer.
Yeah.
You get the offer accepted. It comes to title. We pull title on the seller, the property. We figure out what's going on. We do all the paperwork. We control what the lenders do. We control what the agents do, the buying and selling agent. We control the documents from the buyer. So if there's solar literally we control everything. Without us, none of this would happen. So you're welcome.
Without Ashley, none of this
Thank you,
happened.
Ashley.
But I
None of
really
this show
wouldn't.
happened,
And
yeah.
I feel like people fail to remember that because title companies seem to be pushed aside all the time. Like, oh, we just do marketing and we help and we do this and we throw parties or we have a happy hour. No, we make your deal close. Like, that's our job. Where do you go when you close a deal? To the signing table.
Yeah.
Where's
And
the
you
signing
protect
table?
them.
At our office. How do we make sure that they're not getting screwed financially? That's us. Like, I don't talk about title very often, but this is a perfect example of what is happening and how things are changing in our market. And I think that title is getting a little bit more credit.
Yep.
Honestly, like, we make a difference. Like, when it comes to it, it's not just like Ashley running around town, and making all these realtors and lenders happy. Like, our company is making sure you as a consumer can close. So consumers can pick their own title companies. You don't have to use your buyer's or your buyer agent or your selling agent, depending if your buyer or seller, or your lender's title company. You can choose who you want to use. I'll get off my soapbox now.
That's fine. I was enthralled. I'm like, oh, shit, I'm so glad we're here. I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah.
But we're coming to the end of the show, Miss. Yeah. It's been just a little over 27 minutes. So I want to give the last word to you, Miss Kimberly Burgess. I'm going to go ahead and put your information so people can find you up on the screen there. If you want to talk a little bit more about what you do, your specialties, anything that you got going on right now with Axia Home Loans.
Definitely. Yep. So again, I've been a lender now for 28 years. I do love helping borrowers. I always try to pick up my phone unless I'm on it, but you can find me pretty much everywhere: Facebook, Instagram.
The gym.
The gym, of course. I love my gym.
Let me put that back. Look at this. These are Kimberly's real apps.
They are my real apps.
This is amazing.
I'm telling you.
If I can, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm training hard again. I'm hoping to get my pro card. So it'll be exciting.
So you do that on as like a secondary hobby? Or
yeah, that's my hobby basically. Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really cool to see somebody transfer themselves, and I think discovering that that sense of confidence to be able to go up there with all just strut it out. I mean, you're barely wearing a couple strings here.
That is true. That is true.
But what's powerful about it is the transformation, and I'm going to go back to finances on this real quick. Everything is transformable, and you experience it, whether it's your mind, your body, your soul, or your finances. You embody that, literally embody that. So being able to educate people, I know, it's so funny.
Audience is loud.
A physical transformation, emotional transformation, a financial transformation, like that's you all in one.
Yeah.
You can do it.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, you can improve your body just like you can improve your credit score. It's not always easy, but.
Hell no. Sorry, I cursed.
And same with mind. I mean,
easy.
Mind, body, the whole thing.
Yeah, she got some guns on her. I will say that. Bigger than mine. So, hold on. Let me put you on there. Let me put you on blast real quick. Let's see the guns real quick.
Oh my God.
Hello.
Holy shnikes.
I give up.
As I walked in,
sweater.
some lady told me, "Wow, you're really fit." I was like, "Thank you."
I mean, you should see her legs. These are awesome, fit legs. But that's a different show. So I do want to thank Ms. Kimberly Burgess for coming in today, and thank all of you for watching. We're here every week talking about the Phoenix housing market, things that are happening around us, title, loans. Anything. So if you have any comments or questions, go and drop those in the comments section. We'll get to them every week. Ashley's here to answer your title questions. And
Thanks,
obviously, Miss Kimberly, thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
both.
I appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Bye.